Hey guys, come on. Hey guys, come on in, come on in, come on in. It's gonna be a great night. Come on in, all of our Aqua babies. Come on in, come on in, come on in. Good, good, good. Almost there, almost there. We have a great panel tonight. I am so excited. My name is Jeff Howard. I'm obviously not Sarah. She is out and about somewhere in the world. We don't know where, so I'm kind of questioning that as well because she hasn't told anybody yet. So I'm not sure where she is, but I'm fortunate to be here and I feel very blessed. And look at me. Look at the beautiful women I get to be amongst. I'm very, very fortunate. Like always, guys, if you're new to the panels, we have about 150 people signed up for today. We're going to have about 30, maybe 40 come in at the end of the day. But truly, I want you all to go to the bottom of your screens and I want you to open up your chat. I want you to drag it to the side and I want you to write in where you're from, please. And this chat, even my host, my panelists, write down where you're from. Good. We got Pennsylvania, we got New York, Minnesota, Rockville, Reading, Alabama, Vegas. I want to go there. LA, California. I'm from Louisville. Yeah. Don't come. It's terrible. Anyway, keep going. Good, good, good. Well, we've got a great panel tonight. Tonight is all about the power of the pool, which my panelists are so, I hope we're preaching to the choir. If not, I hope that we will turn you into Aqua people as it starts. There we go. There's my Irene from Iowa. Speaking of panels, before we start, I am going to go ahead. Now, real quick, I regress the chat. During tonight, we are here for you. I have an agenda, but truly, if something comes up that you want to ask us, please type it in. If I don't get to it, one of my panelists will answer it for me, but we are here for you. And anything, we might not know all the answers. Well, I just talked to them before you got here. They know everything. Personal training is Sarah's best asset in the pool. She's got so much knowledge on that. I can't wait to get you with that one. But before we start, let me have the panel introduce themselves. Irene, why don't you go ahead and start?
Well, I am so excited to be here. Thank you so much. I was looking at some of the names and I was recognizing some of you. So thank you so much for spending your time with us. It's hilarious because Jeff's like, okay, go ahead and you guys and introduce yourself. So I'm like going to read my bio, but I'll alter it so it's not too long. I have a master's degree in exercise physiology. That means that I am the nerdiest nerd you've ever met in your life. I am interested in things like how many steps it takes to get through the citric acid cycle, what happens, which enzymes are activated, which aren't. It's so boring. You don't want to date me for sure. But it's so exciting because all of this exercise physiology is happening every single time we exercise. So it's really exciting. I am an adjunct faculty at the university level, so I do like to attend. I spend a lot of time figuring out how can I teach other people this science. So it makes it fun for me to be able to see light bulbs go up. I currently am a consultant. I'm a master trainer for TRX and I do conference education, and I have a new article coming out in the IDEA spring summer issue. It's very exciting and I'm not bragging about it. I just am advocating because I want fitness professionals to take a look at where we are in our careers. And it may be a good impetus for you to consider adding water or aquatic to your program designs. Thank
But
you.
she's being very humble. She's an author. Show them your book if you have your book, Irene.
Oh,
she has
I do. You know what? This is my latest book. It's called The Hit Advantage for Women. And what I'm working on right now, I'm very excited. Jeff, you're so sweet. Thank you so much. I just got an offer for a contract to write one on the strength and I'm going to do strength and menopause, strength and metabolic workouts for women in menopause and beyond, which is me.
That's awesome. That is so awesome.
Thank you. That's so great. People learn and they're like, oh my God, I can do that. I can do that. I am capable of that. That's totally achievable. And that is all. Oh, Jackie, thank you so much. She's so sweet. It's exactly, that's why we do it. Because I don't know, I can't speak for all the panelists, but you know, we're fitness professionals, so we're poor.
On that note, I guess we're going to toss that. Jeanette, let them know about you and where you're from. Jeanette's a new friend to us. So welcome, Jeanette. Tell them all
Thank
about
you.
you.
Well, I started in dietetics. I have a degree in dietetics and human performance. And I used to be an attendee at SCW all the time because I'm from California, but I now live in Tucson, Arizona. And for the last 15 years, I've been working in the 55 and over communities, working for HOAs, implementing their aquatic, their land programs, personal training programs. And I have just developed a love with working for the 55 and over and keeping them active and mobile.
I love that. And then Sarah, tell them who you are and all that great stuff.
Hey, I am Sarah Vandenberg. Like Jeanette, I am a longtime SCW member or attendee. Since then, I am currently working with Water in Motion as a presenter. So that's where my love of Aqua comes from, is the Water in Motion program. I'm looking at my notes so I don't forget. I'm a master trainer and content creator for the Soul Fitness brands, and I will be presenting at the virtual Aqua Summit for SCW this summer.
That's awesome. Oh, congratulations. I told you guys, we are full of knowledge on this app. My name is Jeff Howard. If you haven't met me along your journey, it's nice to meet you. I have a degree in kinesiology from the University of Texas, where I had a 4-year tennis scholarship. I have worked for every fitness chain you could mention. I've been very fortunate. I've worked for Equinox, Crunch. I was brought to South Africa to work for Virgin Active. I'm presently in Louisville, Kentucky, where I have my own fitness studio called Jeff Howard's Fitness. I have a streaming studio as well, which is Jeff Howard's Athletes Club. You can find me presently on Bravo with Housewives of Salt Lake City. I train my good friend Meredith Marks. Enough about us. Let's dive in about the pool. Funny enough, I know that Irene and I think we first presented for SCW. For me, it must have been over 20, 30 years ago, and it was Aqua. My love for Aqua is my mainstay, and then I derived out of it that way. So it's interesting. I think, Irene, if I'm not correct, you started with Aqua too, didn't you, with SCW, I believe?
You know, I'm looking at a lot of the names on our call, and you know, some of the people that are listening to us speaking right now, Jeff, and these lovely women who I'm just getting a chance to meet on this panel. You know, we need people to replace us. I'm moving forward. I can't believe how many people have been like, where's da-da-da? Where's da-da-da? Where's da-da-da? I'm like, they're 75 now. They're done.
Right,
People
yeah,
are
yeah.
like, but they look ageless. That's because we exercise just like the people that are talking with us. But it's amazing because I absolutely adore meeting some of the people who are, you know, maybe interested in doing education. And I love that, because one of the best ways to get your foot in the door is aquatic exercise. If that is an area, you might be like, I don't want to do any educating, but think about that. You're still doing educating even at your own club level. And the confidence and swagger you need, remember, there's a huge dose of humility there. Never forget that. But you've got to have the confidence and swagger too. You do. That's why people are there. You'll be training your own teams also. So just knowing that even if you don't have plans to be a presenter, if you do, it's one of the easiest ways to get your foot in the door, because aquatic exercise professionals are hard to come by, aren't they, Jeff?
So hard. But let's dive into what tonight's about. Are you ready? Aqua exercise is a great way to improve endurance, strength, and balance, all while using the natural resistance of water. Aqua classes generally have a strong community, but it can be difficult to attract new clientele, especially with large groups. Join our panel of experts as they discuss how to create effective and fun Aqua classes, how to attract new potential clients, and what to focus on with those individuals who may be new and wonderful into the wonderful world of Aqua. So we're going to dive right in, guys. What are some of the biggest trends you see in water exercises? What are some of the biggest trends you see in water exercise? And this is a question we always do a study on each year. And I think it's interesting because I've noticed that Aqua has always been 10 years behind land. Whatever's a trend in land, we are 10 years behind. But guess what, you guys? That gap is getting so close right now because of what we're doing in the Aqua community. We don't have all the rules we used to have. In the day, if you've been teaching more Aqua longer than 20 years or 30 years, there were the Aqua police, and they would come and get you. If you had your music, do you remember what the music was 20 years ago, guys? 90 BPMs. We were allowed to go to 120 BPM, but if you went above that, they would arrest you. If you took your hands out of the water, arrested. Like, it was this thing. And I remember when I got into the industry, it was me. I was brought in with Lawrence Piscatini, a guy named Craig from Hydrofit. We had Jeff, and all these guys came in, and we were all like testing the boundaries. Well, guess what? That's gone. We're allowed to do pretty much anything we want in a safe manner now. And that's why it's becoming closer and closer. But let's get back to what the biggest trends are. What do you see the biggest trends, Jeanette, in the water?
For me, I teach water at a 55 and over community, and they are really right now embracing HIIT. It has been a long time coming here, and I've only been here for 3 years, but they are embracing HIIT because they see the change in their bodies when they do HIIT 3 times a week. And we're talking 78, 85-year-olds, 90-year-olds jumping out of the water, pushing their heart rates to 80% of their max. I mean, it's amazing. People can do so much more than they thought.
I love that. And the thing is, it's funny, guys. Remember in the day, people always thought that you couldn't burn fat in the water. They would regard penguins or things like, the water's colder, so we're going to store our fat. You guys, the body works the same way. If your body gets hot, it stays hot. If you keep it hot, you will burn calories. It's just in a safer environment. If it might take a little bit longer to get there, but the body responds. If you make the body tired or fatigue the muscle, guess what's going to happen? It's gonna break down. What trends do you see, Irene?
Well, I actually have been noticing at the education level more one-on-one focus or personal training focus in the water. And I know that's been an option for a really long time for a lot of people, and you've heard about it at the conference level in education and, options, et cetera. But I didn't necessarily know if people were like so doing it. But what I'm noticing too, as I'm going to these conferences again after like a 2-year hiatus or so, there's so many more students. And I mean like college age kids. I call them that because I actually am a college professor. And to me, they're the same age as my own children. So I don't mean to be disrespectful, but I just say, that age. They are so much more open to continuing education, teaching Aqua, teaching yoga, teaching cycling, teaching a boot camp, they view that as like the entire fitness instructor professional package. And so I think it's really interesting to see that's like a more subtle trend, but I'm noticing that it's not out of the realm, because my vision for a fitness professional in the next, 10 to 15 years is we will have a full-time role. And within our day, we might teach classes, we might train clients, we might be doing paperwork, we might doing aquatic exercise, etc. And then we go home at 5 o'clock like any stockbroker would. I mean, we're fitness professionals. That's what we're trained to do. I'm not saying that, part-time, et cetera, Aqua professionals aren't super amazing and helpful, but it's a totally different gig when you're a full-time pro versus you're supplementing your income or really expanding upon your skill set because you love to teach, which is amazing. That's how you get people to actually full-time enter the fitness industry. It's kind of a feeder program, but it is different. And so, I'm seeing a little bit of that trend. It seems so, like I said, it's a subtle trend, but I'm seeing, college male, female, whatever, they're so willing to teach aquatic exercise because they're like, okay. So that tells me that there may be a potential for more of a demographic that could be younger. I don't know.
But what do you see actually in formatting, Aqua formatting as a trend?
I cannot believe I have to go and piggyback on the last panelist comment about HIIT programming. I've been doing it for a while at the conference level, but recently only have people been like, this is amazing. And it's like, you friends, we've been doing this for a bit, but you know what? Whatever it takes, if it takes a certain amount of time before you start understand, or the, and to all of us here on the panel, we all know, every single person on this whole call knows Aqua people take a bit to change. They're not quick to change. A little resistant to that, in fact. So it's wonderful to see that HIT formatting being, because there's so many health related benefits, and we want to affiliate with the health communities more so than, I think, Lululemon and Nike. No disrespect, Lululemon and Nike, but I'd like to see myself more affiliated with like a hospital.
I love that, especially with this population. I love that. How about you, Sarah? What trends do you see?
You guys know I already introduced myself as a water in motion presenter, but the folks in my clubs are loving all 3 water in motion programs. The original program that's been, now we're in our 11th year, I want to say, our platinum program for the older active agers, and the strength program, which is like a choreographed HIT, really, when you really dial down what water in motion strength is all about. They're loving that, and they're loving the crossover programs that you'll see it on land, but also in the water. I'm thinking specifically bar, that where you can cross over from a land bar class into an aqua bar class. They're really digging that.
I love that. I love that. It's so funny. It's fun. Somebody said that they're doing the Tabata format, and I remember you introducing Tabaqua, which was my version of Aqua Tabatas. And I had been I was in South Africa, and I was brought to the United States by Mindy Milray when she started the land-based program. And I loved it, but I was very much wanting to adapt it to water because my background was in water, and she allowed me to do it. But you're right, Tabata formatting is the easiest formatting to go. Kickboxing I'm seeing as well as great repetitive movement. But you guys, I want you to even go a little bit further than that. I want you to look at what's trends that are on land, and how can we adapt them to the water? There's so many trends with going with, Shred 502, which is where you do 2 minutes of cardio and then you do a minute of muscle. You do this and this. Why couldn't we do that in the water? Boot camp style classes, we either have time-based workouts or rep-based workouts. I want you all to go and Google boot camp workouts and push in images. And you're going to see a bunch of different formats that are going to come up that are going to be based on rep or time. 5 exercises, you do them all for 45 seconds, do it once, do it twice, repeat 3 times. We can adapt that for the water, especially these people on the call. If they're saying to do a burpee, we can't do that, of course, in the water, but what is similar to a burpee? A tuck jump.
Totally.
If they're saying doing a lunge left, what does that mean? We could do a swing kick left. We know what it works. If they say we're doing a push-up, that's chest. What would you do for chest? You have to think a little bit outside the box, but I'm telling you this, there's nothing that formatting on land we cannot adapt to the water environment. We don't have to call it in. And the thing is, when we say HIT, guys, even HIT we have to change up. If you're doing HIT training all the time, that is 20-10 on the Tabata. Their bodies are used to it. You have to change. It's a protocol, let's be honest. It's a Tabata protocol. We have to change that timer to 23 now on, 8 off for about 6 weeks, then change it back to 20-10. Or if you're taking their heart rates and you're bringing it up like this for about 7 minutes and then dropping it back down, you now maybe have to do for 4 minutes and bring it down, 4 minutes and bring it down. With change, you get change. And so HIT is always going to be a trend. We've done it on land, golly, forever. But guess what's a trend on land now? Steady state training.
Totally.
And what have we done? Of course, we left steady state in water. We just left that, and now it's becoming a trend on land. So it's this funny thing. I just want you guys to really think outside the box because they're coming to us. And you guys, how many of you on this panel, do you ever write down what you're going to teach on a whiteboard and show them what it's going to be, where they're going, like they do on land-based classes? CrossFit is a written down thing, but I'm going to give you a heads up. They will definitely correct your penmanship. If it's naughty, they will call you out on it, and they do it to me all the time. Jeanette, do you adapt any of the land-based classes you might see to water? And what, if you do, what are they, and how do you adapt it?
Absolutely. We do a lot of fusion with yoga. We do yoga for flexibility and balance for a lot of our Parkinson's and MS people. It is really great for balance and control, core stability. And we fuse that. We'll fuse that with a HIIT and interval training, but it's going to look a little bit different for those participants.
I love that. And I know that Irene, haven't you done also like bar classes in the water? Like you've adapted bar, and I know you've done yoga in the water. Um,
Yeah.
it's all doable. That's the best thing about it. The modality now, we used to just have a modality here, but now we have a modality where we can do so many different options, and they're staying for them all. Have you noticed? They're not coming for one class. They are going to do the yoga, the bar, and then a HIIT class if they can. Um, do you remember though, a couple of years ago, Irene, do you remember? I'm sure you guys saw it at your clubs too, where we were trying to do land and water together. They were calling it surf and turf and all this different stuff.
Mhm.
We tried. I don't know if it stuck for a lot of clubs. If it worked for you, please let us know. For me, I always found the transition very challenging to get people, especially the water population. Our water babes are not going to feel comfortable on the deck. I think that's more if we use the water like it was a BOSU or a piece of equipment like TRX. And we're like this, instead of a TRX, we're using the water, but they're land people that we would teach normally on land and they would come to us. Do you guys kind of agree with that, my panel?
Yes.
Yeah.
I think, the SAID principle, it's the specific adaptations to impose demands. It's one of the primary principles of fitness, and it is so largely ignored. It's hilarious. And it's okay, because sometimes it's easy to miss. It's kind of like looking at your program design and wondering, have I hit all the planes of motion? Oh
Right.
God, this entire workout's in the sagittal plane. Why did I do that? It's the same type of thing. You have to just kind of evaluate it. But I think that we can do a lot more in the water with a lot more people than individuals even think they can. There's a lot of populations, the medical fitness community is really coming forward with recommendations. And if we align ourselves a little bit more, and I feel a lot of the population that's in the water is more aligned with the medical community than they are with like Lululemon. You know what I'm saying? I'm not trying to say anything negative about that brand. I'm just like using it as an example just because there's so much brand recognition around it. We think of Lulu, we think of like, these beautiful women doing like yoga and blah, blah, blah. And that's not, for one, the Aqua population that we're going to be looking at. And specifically, we have to make sure we address what they need. And that's how come being aware of exactly like what their needs are and medically what their needs are. And that can be really challenging when you're teaching group classes, because there isn't always that, acknowledgement of the fact that we're all very educated professionals. Every single individual on this call is quite competent in what they do. And, sometimes our members just don't know that.
Good, good, good. I love that. I think that's awesome. I think you're exactly right. But I mean, let's be honest with you. There's just so much we can do in the water. That's why I do love water in motion, because the choreographer gives such great exercises. And please don't take this the wrong way. And even if you decide not to teach water in motion, I love to look at the choreography, because they really know how to use the different planes in such a beautiful way. And choreo, let's face it, we can only do so much in the water. I mean, there's just so much to do. You already know that if you're gonna do lower body normally one way, you're gonna do the upper body maybe the opposite, okay? That's you're gonna get bang for your buck. We're gonna push that water with direction. Any movement that's a single, if it's a single double or a single like jack, water jack, you can make it a double. 2 bounces in, a twist, bounce it in, make it a double movement, and then make it a single. On land, burpees. We used to do burpees all the time. They're ineffective now. We've done so much. It's like our tuck jumps, the exact same thing. Think outside the box. Add a precursor to that exercise or a postcursor or something in the middle of your exercise. So whatever you would normally do with a tuck jump, that means you would maybe do, you're saying kickboxing, do a push, push, tuck, push, push, tuck. That would be a before. Or you would tuck, land, kick left, kick right. Tuck, land, kick left, kick right. You know what I'm saying? Add something that you would normally do in a movement before it or afterwards, okay? That's a precursor or postcursor. And that goes for anything, even a water jack, jab, jab. And so once again, I love to look at water emotion because I think it really lends itself to a lot of unique choreography in very different ways. But we're going to move on. Let's move down to kind of what you hit on, Irene. How do we balance both new and experienced clients in the same class? And that's what we get, guys. We're going to have our normal population shows up and they know their spots in the pool and they're not going to move. And then you have a new person come in and guess what? They're not going to let them anywhere close to where they want to be. It is your house. Don't ever forget that on this call. It is your house. And if I came to your house, you would tell me your shoes come on or off. There were rules. And I'm a firm believer in a nice way, we can let our population be naughty or good. And so I'm always a firm believer, and I'm always like this, y'all are mean. If somebody new comes, please be nice to them because we want them here. I'm not taking control of the situation. Does that make sense? But
Yes.
that's beyond that point. That's beyond that point. I just want to know how my panel deals with teaching multi-level classes, because that's what it is. It's a multi-level class, and you get one shot for a newbie to either get it or not, because they've heard about it, because their doctor has told them they should be with us. How do you handle that, Jeanette?
Well, I always make it a point to be at my class early. I know we all say this, but when we start teaching right away, or maybe you're subbing for somebody and you're in a rush and you're getting your music ready and you're not looking people in the eye and you're not taking the time to get to know your people's needs, I beg of you to go early and to connect with your participants. And so I always make sure I know if somebody new is coming to class so I can talk to them ahead of time. I can let them know what to expect in class. I can find out what kind of issues they have going on. I'm in a 55 and over community, and there are a lot of issues that they may be seeing. And I like to go over that. We just started a water walking program here, and it's been amazing. But there's a certain way we walk in the lanes. And so you have to be ready and let them know what to expect so they're not running into people. And the older people aren't getting mad at them because they're new. And like you said, we want to keep them coming back. And I always make sure with my folks to teach to the top tier. If we're teaching to the lower tier, the ones that have been there forever are going to be like, come on, what are you doing? Let's go, let's go. But you teach to the lower tier, they're going to work at the lower tier. You want to teach to that tier you want them to aspire to.
I love that. How about you? I mean, Sarah, because you're teaching a program that is already kind of choreographed, how do you get the newbie? Because that's a choreographed class. I mean, you have somebody that already knows the routines. How do you integrate that?
Absolutely. I mean, first of all, I change the routine often. So even my regular people are never going to become complacent. Like, I'm always going to keep them on their toes. And I think right off the bat, I never make an assumption about when somebody walks in the door. I'm not going to make an assumption about them and look at them and say, oh, that person's going to work really hard today, or that person's going to need a lot of modifications. I make zero assumptions, whether it's a new person or somebody who's been coming to my class for 8 years, because you never know what that person slept really bad last night and now they're kind of have some stuff going on. They worked really hard the day before and they're using my class more as a recovery. They had a little too much to drink last night and now they're coming into class just to kind of get their body moving, and that's going to be good enough for the day. Make zero assumptions, and then I make sure I give all the options every single time. And I think that kind of goes towards not making any assumptions. Even if I don't have somebody new in the pool, okay, if you're going to slice the water, this is one way to do the move. You can also use a paddle. Why would you choose each option? Every single time, because half the time that the class is talking anyway, and they're probably not listening to half of what you say. So even if you've said it 10 times, maybe they've never heard you say it before. But the big one I can say is just make zero assumptions and give all the options every single time.
I love that. And Irene, how do you blend the newbies with the more experienced? And then somebody asked, it's so funny, you're right. When we get a newbie come in, they don't know where the water levels should be. And so either they go, the water level is too short or it's too high, and they bob around like a bob, like if you're how do you handle that, Irene? What do you tell the clients?
Well, I really encourage my more seasoned and consistent participants. For some reason in the water, you'll find this. You'll have people who are willing, it's almost like they want to be a teacher's assistant. It's very interesting and lovely, but it's very common. I think it has a little bit to do on it. This, my opinion, has a little bit to do probably with the demographic that we tend to work with in the water. I think of my mother and some of her friends and how they would be, you know, the way that they would be, and they want to help and they want to assist. And I have found in my career that, you know, my first water fitness class I think I taught was, I remember this, February 14th, 1990, because I went and taught that class and I had no idea what I was doing. It was horrible. And I had no clue that there was a difference between gravity and buoyancy at that point. So I just think that there are a lot of people who could really benefit from being in the water that don't know that they could be in the water because they don't understand all the benefits of being in the water. And when you finally do get that person in the water, what you do is I try to partner them with one of those people who's really common in my class. And they're usually so lovely. I'll usually really rely. I'll be like, Julie, this is Rosa. She's brand new. Can you stand near her? And it kind of empowers Julie. And I'm not even kidding you. I've gotten more than one fitness instructor out of that experience, because usually I'll find somebody who's inclined to be, you know, more kind of interested in what we do, Jeff and panelists. And they, you know, they're like, I think I might want to teach, because so many people become Aqua instructors, at least way back in the day, not now, but the instructor didn't show up. And all of a sudden they're like, well, you know the routine, so why don't you just teach it? And, you know, suddenly they're on the payroll, which doesn't happen as much anymore, but that is the history.
I love that. I love that. Barbara does this. She sometimes, when she's teaching to different levels, she demos level 1, level 2, and level 3. And then she tells them, do what feels comfortable to them. And I'm a firm believer in that too, because let's face it, every day we're not always a level 3. Sometimes you're a level 1, and sometimes they're just at the pool and we want them there. So we're doing it basically for them. I love that. But somebody else had a great question. How can we sell training using the pool to new clients? You know, this pool that we have is a beautiful thing to have but it's very expensive. And so they're always trying to fill this pool because of the expense of this pool. And how do you guys sell this to a new client? How do you sell that, Jeanette?
Well, I told you about the water walking program we started, and I really tapped into our running club. We have a running club here. So I tapped into the club and I asked what they did on their off days. And their off days were often on their butt days. And I'm like, well, that's an off day, but you can move and still have an off day. Do it without gravity, you know, do walking in the water, do running in the water. It's a great way to have an off day as a runner. So I really tried to cross paths with other modalities on land to get them into the water and to see what a valuable modality the water is, to take the gravity away, to encourage full range of motion in all of our joints, which we really need to do, especially in the 55 and over communities.
I love that. And how do you, Sarah, how do you sell people that have maybe never done Aqua and they're, they just question it?
Right. I also teach land. So I am often trying to find that bridge and getting my water people into my land classes and my land people into my water classes. A couple ways I've done that is, I mentioned earlier, I teach like an Aqua bar. So I'll take my land bar folks, say, hey, if you think this is good on land, wait till you see it in the water, right? Water is 12 times more resistant than air. Think about it. And so I can bridge them over there. Same way with like a strength class with water in motion strength specifically, like that is a butt kicking class. And if you can get folks to buy into that, similar to what Jeanette was saying, you know, you're going to take an off day. Well, why not just make it a no gravity day, right? Let's just work a little different. And another one, a great crossover that I've seen is using, and maybe your clubs don't have these, but the boga mat or the inflatable indoor stand-up paddleboard mat. It's a great crossover because if you're on the mat, you're not really in the water, right? You're on top of the water doing yoga, doing some HIIT training, whatever it is, and maybe you'll fall in and maybe we'll use the water for a couple of exercises off the board and then get back on the board. And then folks can start to see, oh, the water does have some really great training principles. Oh, I do like this. I work harder. It's not just for my great grandma. Yeah, this is for everybody. So just those kind of ways that you can cross over, I found is really beneficial.
I love that. Irene, how about you?
Okay, tell me one more time the question.
The question is about how do you take a newbie that comes to how do you get a newbie that wants to maybe try water? How do you sell training using the pool to new clients?
I know it's so challenging because, like I had mentioned before, there are some objections that people typically have. They're myths, and they can easily be overcome with information. But the one that just can't be overcome is, excuse me, if they don't want to get in the pool. I mean, I've literally had people that are just like, I don't want to be in the pool. I just don't want to be in the pool. And if they can remember to just be open-minded about different experiences, and there's tons of people like that too. So I'm really just, if you can get somebody who is not overcome by getting in the water, you have a great chance of helping them understand, the cross-training benefits that we were talking about just a moment ago, and the recovery. They're still working. See, I think people too, like it was said just a moment ago, that confuse recovery with like eating chips and watching Netflix.
Yeah.
That's not the same thing. All right, Jeanette.
Right.
I love that, guys. I love that. Also,
yeah, that is probably my biggest selling. There's so many benefits to water. I honestly believe the biggest obstacle is just getting them in the pool, because once you do, you can sell them on the gravity versus buoyancy, on the resistance, on the lack of eccentric contraction, which isn't mean that it doesn't happen. It's just because of the way of the resistance in the water, you don't get those delayed onset muscle soreness issues, and you get all the cardiovascular benefits without the perception of the intensity. It's just ridiculous how great this is for 80% of the American population who doesn't want to work out.
I love that. Jeanette, you want to add
Yeah,
to
I
that?
wanted to build on that. I don't know how many work with 55 and over, but you get your kyphotic individuals that are really starting to fight gravity. And one of my coworkers here said, as you get older, it's like we're in a boxing match against gravity, and you want to go as many rounds as possible. So it is so much easier to work on great posture in the water when you're not fighting gravity, especially for the individuals that are fighting it every day and they're losing it. They're kyphotic and they're having a hard time finding the ears, shoulders, and hips and bringing them in line again. And it's just so much easier to train that in the water again.
Somebody had asked, speaking of Jeanette, somebody had asked on the message board about the water walking. How do you make it fun? What do you do to make it more exciting or fun? And how long are the classes?
Our classes are an hour. We're lucky enough, all of our pool, I'm in Arizona, so all my pools are outside year round. Sorry, Sarah. So we are getting tans year round, except we had a lot of snow this year. But in any case, I work on posture the most in water walking. So I'm constantly reminding them about bringing their ears over their shoulders over their hips. We work on a high knee, your foot strike, rolling from heel to toe. And I'm sure most of you know, half of our job is being an entertainer. Mm-hmm. And that's part of where the fun comes in. Being fun about it, not always being a serious drill sergeant. You can still be a drill sergeant, but have fun. And poke people and we jab each other. It's great fun. I had one of our residents today, he emailed me and he said, he's in Mexico. And he emailed me, he said, Jeanette, I just wanted to let you know I'm doing Aqua fitness every day. And he sent a picture of himself in the pool holding a cocktail. I was like, that's not Aqua fitness, Dan. But the water walking, you make it fun. and you don't, it's not just walking the whole time. There's high knees. I do some intervals with sprints. We do a lot with the foot strike and rolling through the ball of the foot. Your sprints are middle of the foot, striking the bottom of the pool, sideways, walking backwards. There is a lot you can do with water walking. And come to the Aqua Summit. I will be presenting on water walking there.
I love that. And don't forget music, guys. Your music
Yes.
for water walking is key. And so Google it. Google stuff that has a great beat. You know, Nike, we know we've kind of said, but Nike does like walking classes on land. Find their music. When I did water walking, I would do RuPaul's Supermodel. I'd be like, okay, you're supermodels now. You know, and then you would find things where like tightrope walking or bunny hop or stuff like this. Like just go out there a little bit. But the music, you guys will change it so much. And I think it's going to make it very, very fun.
I have to piggyback on that, Jeff. Sorry to interrupt, but the music, it's such a pet peeve of mine when someone's playing like elevator music in the background. Don't let your music be background noise. It can be the focus of your music. And you know, Len Kravitz, if you've seen his studies about how people move, you move with the beat of the music. So have the beat that's driving their movement.
I love that. And then we've had some other people, they've asked about choreography. And I bet everybody on this panel wishes that they would have written down their choreography for every class they taught all those years and kept them on little posted cards. And so you could switch up. Let's say we do our choreography. We do cardio. Normally we do muscle. Then we do some kind of ab work. And if you could just put like the cardio card and like switch that around, you would have a new class all the time. I'm a firm believer in changing up choreography on a regular basis so they don't get bored. I love programming, as I kind of said earlier. So for me, I'm always going to give you a different program. I might call the class recess, but it will always be something, a different kind of boot camp, let's say. Now, how do we get people? Names. Don't give boring names to your class. If you want a class, SCW has the best class names. Just go through the videos. Just say video names and get a name. If you put something exciting on your schedule, it'll be exciting. But tell your people that are already on that schedule, you know those are Aqua babies, the format's the same. I've just changed the name because they hate different formats. You got it? But a name. Change up the schedule, guys. Change up the schedule. We do it on land all the time, don't we, Sarah? You do land. We always do that. Change up the class. Now, my facility, since the pandemic, some people have mentioned the pandemic, my classes are all 45 minutes, all 45 minutes. And so, oh, I love somebody who does line dancing in the water. I love that. That's so good. And the reason my classes are 45 minutes is because I do 15 minutes where they can interact. And then when I get on deck, we work hard. But that's just my facility. That way for me, somebody talked about pay structure real quick, and then pay structure is this. I pay them for an hour, but the class is 45. And so I can give them a little bit more. Irene, yes?
I was just going to say two things. One, the pay structures struck me so quickly. I can't even remember what my first comment was. But I just love the fact that we're teaching classes as fitness professionals. And this is just kind of my own thought process. And not everybody will be totally on board with this, but I think it's an amazing thought. We should be paid for our expertise and not necessarily our time. I was recently brought on by a really well-known, corporate wellness company to teach classes, whatever, and they're paying me by the minute.
Wow.
So I'm being paid for 15 minutes of my hourly rate or a half hour of my hourly rate. And I am really excited about working with them because they're awesome. But I had to ask my supervisor. I said, listen, I know you probably haven't had, and I'm not being disrespectful, I promise, but my supervisor was like 25. He's like, what do you want me to do? I said, I was under the impression I was being hired per hour or experience, not necessarily by the minute. And he didn't really understand what I meant. And I said, see, here's the things that need to change. We need to be paid per experience. Doesn't matter to me if it's a 15-minute experience or a 35-minute experience or an hour and 15-minute experience. It's an experience that I have to facilitate with my professional, expertise and all of my talents. And so I want to be paid for that. And I think that's really important because it's not going to change unless, you know, it's not like I'm asking people to be nasty about it, but I am asking fitness professionals to ask for that, because you will get 100% of what you don't ask for.
And I want to add, you guys, especially on this call, Aqua, we're running out of time, believe it or not. The 45 minutes flew by. I'm going to have everybody give you a closing comment or an elevator pitch of why you should come to water. But I want to say this, there's a shortage of teachers. Use that to your advantage. Don't ever forget that. Use it to your advantage. They need us more than we need them right now. Okay. And I know that you love your crews and stuff, but if it's not a fit for you, you need to go. You need to take care of yourselves, number one. Okay. Treat it like a job. 3 months, get in there. If you prove yourself, ask for some more money. At any job, you would get a raise. We're going to start with our elevator pitches. And I'd like my panelists to put in how people can get a hold of you. But I'll start with you, Jeanette. How would you like to end tonight's webinar?
I would like to say everybody to get in the water and make it fun. It is fun. Water is one of the most versatile places to work. It's been underrated for so long, and I feel like it's just now gaining momentum, even though I've been teaching it since I was 18.
I love that.
But we make it fun. They can do so much more than we give them credit for.
I love that. And you, Sarah?
Oh, just party in the pool every time. And that's how I get people in. Like, we're just going to have fun. It's just going to be a party. Just come join us. And sign up for the SCW Aqua Summit this summer. You'll see Jeanette and I, and probably Jeff and Irene. I don't know.
Irene, what about you, baby?
Well, I encourage people to be athletes. And they're like, athletes. I'm like, do you know in Australia and South America, people don't go to aquatic exercise classes unless they are badasses. They are hardcore. And because aquatic exercise is brutally challenging for people who really want a great workout, and recovery is really big right now. So I think it's a great opportunity for us to kind of promote something that might be new to people. Remember, step right now, I'm teaching step classes, and people like basic right, basic left, tap change. What? Yeah, it's coming. It's coming back. I think aquatic exercise is going to make a big impact. I think carbs are going to come back. And I think people are going to also be looking at steady state exercise again. And there is another opportunity for water.
Absolutely.
And speaking of which, don't forget that on May 20th, I am doing the Group X certification. So if you're not Group X certified and you're just doing water, get certified with me. Irene is doing, I believe, foam roller and active
functional fitness training.
So it's something you can do at home. We get you out in about 6 hours, not 8. So if you get a chance, please sign in for that. All I want to end this with, you guys, my panelists, I hope you got as much out of it as I do. If you felt the professionalism and passion, and you guys, my people that are listening in, the things you were saying in the comments, you are doing such a good job. Your employers are doing such lucky to have you as employees. You are stepping above and beyond, and that you spent tonight with us shows us how much your clients are so lucky to have you. So from the bottom of our hearts, I want to say good night to everybody. Thank you, my panelists. You were amazing. Have a good night, kids. Bye.